Kūkākūkā. Discussions on topics affecting Hawaii's youth, ohana, and community.
Aloha mai kākou. Welcome to another episode of Hale Kipa's Kūkākūkā. My name is Venus Rosete-Medeiros, and I am the president and CEO of Hale Kipa. And can you believe it, guys? This is our 12th show. 12. If you haven't seen the other episodes, please go on halekipa.org and look under Kūkākūkā, and you'll be able to see all of our programs that we've filmed here at Olelo TV. But today I have two very, very special guests. I have Sandra Sagisi Moser, who is she is actually the owner and principal broker at Sandra Sagisi Hawaiʻi Realty Services, LLC. She also was a former mortgage broker. And also with us is Jimmy Liu, who is with American Family Lending. And Jimmy is a mortgage loan officer with American Family Lending, but was also in retail mortgage lending for over 21 years. So, hi guys, how are you?
Aloha. Hello. We are so excited to Kūkākūkā with you.
Yeah, Kūkākūkā.
Yes.
So, I know you have so much more to talk about, like who you are, the experience you bring. And today we're going to be talking about the housing challenges here in Hawaii. So can you share a little bit about your experience and who you are and what you've, bring to this conversation?
Well, I was raised in the plantation on the island of Kauai, several plantations, about 3 plantations. And my mom was a single mom. And I can recall that housing was always an issue because she didn't have that much money. In fact, I remember one time where we were kicked out of the house and all of our boxes were on the street and we didn't have a place to go. So I always remember my mom when I do housing and when I'm helping people getting their first home and their dream home, because you know what? Not everybody has that opportunity to own a home.
Right.
And I always remember my roots. And so, so that's what I do. I'm a real estate agent, but most importantly, I help a lot of veterans who get into homes where they have no money, or even help people who don't have the funds, but they have the credit score, and I help them get into homes.
So how long have you been doing this in totality?
Okay, well, I was buying and selling homes I think in my 20s, and altogether we probably bought, I probably bought about 23 homes with college roommates and friends and family members. I even bought one home with Jimmy during remember the subprime era?
Yes.
And that was when you could do liar's loan, where you could just buy any home with just your credit and spit, and that was it. They didn't even check anything. It was called the liar's loan, so it was very easy at that time. But then I also lost my shirt in real estate. So now when people get really aggressive in real estate and they want to buy because they want to add it to their portfolio, I would say, hey, you know what, hold on. Because a lot of people don't know this, but if you are not careful, you can lose everything. And people have gone bankrupt.
And that's why you guys have to go to school and get licensed, so you know how to help someone to not lose their shirt, right? So I know that there's some people who want to do it on their own, thinking, oh, I'm going to save money, right? I don't need a real estate agent. I can do this on my own. What would you say to that?
Well, there are some people that are really savvy. There's some savvy investors. I started off doing stuff on my own, but the thing is, when and it's okay for the little properties, and there's a lot of stuff that you can look online, but the problem is, you have deposits now that you have to put down. Sometimes it's 20%, sometimes it's $50,000. And if you don't know what you're doing and you're not partnering with professionals who can protect your deposit, it can be very dangerous. But at the same time, you should also, as a real estate purchaser and buyer, if you even want to get into your first home, you should know and educate yourself about the process, what to do before you buy, during the process, and surround yourself with good people who know exactly what they're doing, good negotiators, people who can protect you in real estate laws, and so that you don't lose your shirt like I did.
And Jimmy, you've also been doing this for quite some time, right?
Yeah. I think I just hit 22 years. this
22
week.
years, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. And what brought you to this business?
Well, I started off, my background was music, and I needed to make a living. So I went into mortgage, and one
Wait,
of the...
Jimmy, you being a little shy here. You used to play in a band
Heavy metal.
back in the day, right?
Right.
In that famous nightclub that a bunch of us used to go to back in the 70s, I believe, right?
Well, I'm not quite back in the 70s.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay.
You're a little bit
I was in
younger
the
than us.
70s.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the 80s.
No,
90s.
90s? Oh.
That's how young he is.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Anyway, so no, I kind of it's a long story to that, but I found myself into getting into the mortgage business. I started off in the subprime market, like Sandra mentioned it earlier, where you can do loans with basically just a credit score, and they have the no income, no asset, no employment loans, and I guess the result of that subprime market ended up with the whole mortgage meltdown.
Right.
And
I remember
and
that.
that affected a lot of people, right? A lot of and changing the whole lending market with some regulations, new heavier, stricter regulations. So then at that point, it made it harder for people to qualify because of the stricter guidelines and everything. So then anyway, but now it kind of almost coming in full circle. Now the guidelines are lighting up again. So now we actually do have some of those loans back, the no income, no employment loans.
Really?
Yep,
Yeah.
they're back. And you can actually buy property with just, as long as you can show that you've got money, 12 or 18 months?
Well, there are some loans that require, of course, a good credit score, minimum down 20% down, and you have to have some reserves, right? As long as you have those, a good credit score, money for down payment and reserves, I mean, you could buy something without employment, no income on the application.
We just did one with a lady that didn't work for 15 years. Can you imagine that? No job for 15 years, but the property that this person was refinancing, you can either refinance or buy. The property that they were refinancing made a lot of money. And so you order a different kind of appraisal to see what the rental is like. So there's all kinds of loans out there, but the best for the first-time home buyers are the ones where you use other people's money, zero down.
Yes, so I want to get
down.
into that because the reason why I asked you on this show is because, I really want to have our local people be able to hear from experts on how can I get a home. You see the out migration, they call it, of local people leaving Hawaii because, they feel like they cannot afford a home here.
Yeah.
There's just no way. So the out migration is like crazy right now.
Yeah.
But what can they do? I mean, is there anything that you guys can help share with some of our local families here who want to buy a home, who want to live here? Because now even rent is going up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, there is a cost to live in paradise. When I was in television way back in the 90s, I did a series from a book by Mr. Randall Roth, and his book was like, the cost of living in paradise, where people were going all to Vegas or out of state, and it's happening right now. There are ways of doing it. It all begins with your credit score. You have to be responsible, because if you have good credit, we've got the programs that can get you into homes. And I'm also a licensed loan officer. I can talk about it. Otherwise, I can't talk about it. But Jimmy can talk better about it, about the 100% loans. And maybe I'll pass that over to you, because that's really your expertise.
So Sandra mentioned a good thing, which is credit. It all starts off with credit. So if someone local or anybody that wants to thinking about buying a home down the road, or the first thing they do is they should always work on their credit. It makes a lot of things easier and transactions smoother. You get better rates. You get less documentation and a lot of things like that. So again, the first thing to do is if you know that you have not so good credit, is to work on your credit. Okay, and then the next thing to do is to see if you can save up some money for either closing costs or maybe down payment. Now, there are 100% financing loans out there, but the more money you have for down payment and closing costs, it widens the option, and you get better program and rate.
Okay, but that seems to be something that actually prevents people from buying a home, because they don't have the down payment, right? Are there any programs other than the 100% financing? Is there any other programs out there that you're aware of that people can tap into to help them?
Yeah,
right. There are quite a few type of grants. There's, I believe that they still have the one in Hawaii, the $40,000 that you can apply for, as long as they have funds, and you can use that for part of your down payment, and that has. There's no interest rate on it. You just pay back in. I think it still works that way. I haven't done one for a long time, but and I believe it's forgivable if you make your payment on time, the $40,000 for 10 years. Yeah. So there's that, and there's like you said, the 100% financing rate. That, as long as you meet those guidelines of a first-time home buyer, some has restriction on like the VA, right? Veterans, for veterans, military veterans, you have to be a VA, right? So to qualify for the 100% financing, right? And there's a lot of government program like the FHA, where they have a first mortgage, and they have a down payment assistance second for the second mortgage. So combined, they cover the whole, the financing for the whole transaction, for the whole loan. I just did a closing out on the Big Island, where I did one of those government, they call it the FHA, where the first mortgage is FHA, and the down payment second for the rest of the 3.5%. So let me backtrack a little bit. So for the FHA, usually the minimum down is 3.5%. So then the down payment assistance program basically covered the remaining 3.5%. So the one that I just closed in June on Big Island, they did one of those programs, and the seller, which are probably Sandra will talk about, the seller offer what they call seller credit, and the seller credit basically cover all the closing costs for the buyer. So now they don't all the loan is covered 100%, plus all the closing costs was covered by the seller concession.
Okay, so that is a real estate trick that I have used for many, many years, and it was taught to me by one of my rich clients, because he didn't want to pay anything. So as long as there's enough equity in the house, let's say the house is worth $420,000, right? And it's on the market for $400,000. So what you do is you ask the seller, hey, seller, we're going to give you $420,000. Can you turn around and give that $20,000 back to us? And it'll pay my closing costs, and it'll also pay my points to buy it down. And they'll go, Sure, because it's it's whatever, it's paper money, right? They still get the 400 that they want. So it is one of the best strategies of OPM, other people's money. So technically, the buyer is, adding it to their loan. The seller, instead of keeping and pocketing that 20 grand, they're turning around giving it to you. But it works, and I can tell you, it is one of the best programs.
Wow.
But you have to be experienced in that, meaning, a lot of people go, oh, just give me your money. But if you got to know the market, you got to know the value of the house. So if you ask that, but then when the appraisal comes in and your seller or your buyer has purchased, a $1,000 appraisal, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, there's not enough equity to give you the $20,000. So again, you have to know your market. You got to know the value. You got to know the sales in the area to make that work.
Got it. So I know people are still buying homes today. Who do you see buying homes right now?
Well, right now we are today, officially as of about 2 weeks ago, because the rates went from 8% from last year to 7%, and then high 6 and now low 6s, and the rumor is it's going to go down in the 5s when the feds cut rates. It is, again, we are now facing another overbidding war. But earlier, like this whole summer, most of the sales that I've had were all cash buyers. They're all from abroad, from the mainland, business people, all cash. And unfortunately, a lot of the ones that are, like living in the islands were being beat out by cash buyers.
You too?
My business, the loan business, right? So I don't get cash buyers, right? So, but my book of business and everybody's book of this business is different. My book of business last year was a lot of investors. While everybody was waiting for the rate to drop, and as long as I know those investors are savvy and everything, I told them to buy, because that was the best time to negotiate. When and
So even with the high interest rate?
Yeah, because they were savvy investors. They know how to get a greater return, even though with a higher interest rate.
They're in
They
and
know how
out.
to make it work. Yeah.
I mean, these guys have cash,
So these guys are investors from out of state.
Well, the ones that I did quite a bit was all investors, local investors.
Oh, local investors.
Yeah.
So what, second, third homes? Like,
Investment
that's all they
homes,
do?
so they buy it for to rent it out, or they might buy a home to flip it and resell it.
A lot of people think, oh, we got to get the lowest rate because, we wanted to keep it for 30 years. Honestly, guys, I have never kept a loan for more than maybe 5 years. And as soon as the rates drop, boom, I refinance. You know why? Because taking the cash out of your equity is like one of the best ways to get. Where can you get 6 figures? Only in Hawaii. The price is always going up and up and up, and your value is always going up. So if you let the bank, use your equity and make your money, why not take it out? Strip it, buy it, and put it in another piece of property, or your child's education. But real estate in Hawaii is so good. You've got kids. I have kids that I have mentored, young people that are doing that. They're buying and selling, and they have discovered the beauty of making 6 figures in real estate, in just fixing up old homes on the west side. There was one that we just did, and it's super young kid, and he just fixed it up, bought it for $400. We sold it for $840. I mean, opportunities are grand, and that's why a lot of people say, well, take advantage of your home equity line of credit. Everybody's got a home equity line of credit, right? As long as you have good credit, you can tap into that and you can purchase properties. And your parents too. Your parents, if our culture, we help our children buy homes, right? And sometimes they're more than willing to do that, to gift you the down payment.
Wow.
But I wanted to add that how like Sandra was mentioning earlier about getting to the seller credit. So a lot of the first-time home buyer, even investors, right? What they're doing is that they're using this program called the buy down. the temporary buy down. So there's a 3-2-1 buy down with 3 years, 2 year, 1 year, and they use that temporary buy down to lower their interest rate. Okay, for either 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and so then they give them the opportunity to have a lower payment for in those period while with the temporary buy down, and then when the when the rate do go down, they can refinance. So that's another strategy.
Another trick.
Yeah, well, like, okay, our grandparents, they had their mortgage, and they would wait 30, 40 years before they sell it, and they made the good 200,000. Guess what, guys? In this market now, if you pick the right place, location, you pick the right place, you don't have to wait 30 years. Sometimes you can do it in 2 years. So, you have to let go. For you to make money in real estate, you gotta sell something, because you gotta take that equity, sell, and then you can buy, 2 more homes or 1 more home, so that you can build your portfolio, right? So that's the beauty of real estate. Be gutsy when you know it's right and you feel it's right, and you've got a lot of equity in that home. Go buy another home.
Yeah, well, some people just want their first home, right? Just what advice would you give someone, a first home buyer? Besides the work on your credit, let's say they have good credit now.
Well,
what would you have them do?
A first-time home buyer the other day that, which they weren't aware of, and that you could, if you have a 401k savings, you could actually tap into that and use it to, well, you ask your 401k first, right?
Yeah, don't you get taxed on those things?
You do get taxed on it, but you don't get penalized for it if you take it out for home purpose.
And you take out a loan too. You can take a loan.
Yeah, and you can also take out a loan against your 401k to purchase a home as well. Again, check with your 401k bank or whatever.
Yeah, so we're not like securities and exchange experts, or we're not financial advisors, but those are the strategies that a lot of our savvy investors do, right? But again, we're just we just help people in whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it helps to speak to someone who knows, right? Because I think people just, once again, I think we just buy into the idea that we're never going to be able to afford a home here, right? But there are ways.
Yeah.
So, first-time buyer, go and talk to a real estate.
But they should talk to a good, mortgage loan officer, and just to have a conversation. I think first of all, and to see if you can take it to the next step. Or the loan officer may tell you, hey, you know what, work on your credit, and everybody's a little different. Okay, so normally when you qualify for a mortgage, we look for the 3 things, right? We look for your credit. We look for the assets, how much liquid assets you have, and the third thing is the debt, what they call debt to income ratio, right? So the debt to income ratio, how they calculate that is, what is the new housing payment plus your existing debt? So they don't just qualify you on the new housing payment; they also qualify you for whatever debt you bring with you, like your credit card monthly bills, right? Student loans, car loans, right? So if you talk to a mortgage loan officer early enough, or try to do a pre-qualification with them, or then you can see where you're at that time. You might have to pay off some bills first. You might have to, maybe pay off some collections or whatever to build up your credit if you have like no credit at all. Or, so like when somebody have no credit, we tell them to go get your credit, right? We tell them to go to like a bank and stuff like that, and if and then but just borrow against your own money, and then that's one way to build up your credit, and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So so again, everybody's a little different, right? So if one person, if one borrower is, let's say, kind of shy on the credit score or low on the credit score, then we tell them, work on the credit score. If one person is maybe, again, has a lot of debt, then we tell them, hey, you know what, you got to work on some of the debt
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, and there's a trick to that too, right? So you don't have to pay off all of your debt. Just pay off a certain percentage, which is about what, 35, 30%, 25%, around there.
It's kind of like the rule of thumb is like to keep your balance, like on your credit cards and everything, to be at around 30% or lower. To
And
maintain.
it boosts your credit score. So when people come to me, go, I want to buy a $1 million house, no problem. And I go, have you been pre-approved? I always ask, have you been pre-approved? They go, no, but I qualify. I have a lot of money. I said, well, you know what? We need to get you to a loan officer. So I have like a whole slew of loan officers that you can speak with. So we have to find out. Turns out that person makes like $800,000, but they're in business and they write off everything. So at the end of the year, they make only $30,000. So can that guy with $30,000 be approved for a loan? No. So that's why I learned my lesson. You need a loan officer first to be pre-approved before you come out with me. Because let's say that their credit score is like 540, or they don't even have enough money or down payment. The loan officer that you recommend them to will work with that client and say, hey, I'm sorry, but your debt ratio is like 54% and we need 45% to get you to qualify. So why don't we pay off your truck, save a little bit more money per month, and then come back in 6 months. And I've had great loan officers that the credit score of the buyer is, let's say, about 620, and within 4 months, they boosted their credit up.
Wow, just by
all of these tricks that they have.
Now, a couple questions came to mind. You mentioned earlier location. Right now, what's the locations that people should be looking at?
That's a good question. You want an area that is supposedly bulletproof, right? But which areas are those? Actually, right now, throw a dart. All areas are pretty good. You just go in. I tell people, you want to buy an area, go and drive around the neighborhood, and if you want to see who your neighbors are, go to the grocery store. Then that's what I tell my people, right? Because if you love the area and you love the people around you, that's a good area. And there's all kinds of websites too. Like there's crime websites, there's sexual abuse websites. They can do all of that. They can do the research. Everybody does research online right now. But I never tell people, don't go to this because it's a bad. We can't say that as realtors and as professionals. We can't say that. They have to do their homework, and we will be there to help them every step of the way. What it takes to get into a home. And even though there's a million people out there and just a few, very low inventory, if you do it right and you do your research and you're hooked up with the right people, we can get you in that house right away.
What about the neighbor islands besides Oahu? Our neighboring islands, do you feel like, well, I know Maui's pretty high, right? But is it good for first-time homeowners to look at maybe the lower cost housing?
So first-time homeowners has to be their primary residence. So it should be the homes that they want to live in. And one rule that I have made in my real estate investing experience is, if you're going to buy property, you buy it in your backyard. Because if you cannot, if somebody else is doing it in another city and you don't know what's going on, you could also lose your shirt in there, right?
Yeah. Well, now with remote work and people, wanting to live in Hawaii with their children, you see them relocating to other islands,
You know
right?
what? She is so good. By the way, I love your show. I did a crash course. You are a very good commentator. Your mind, I can see your mind going.
It's my ADHD. My mind is always.
You're so good. That is so true. I don't know about you, Jimmy, but I get a lot of people from Google. I have a lot of remote workers that all come here. They buy homes, just to invest in. But because they're living there, they can make it their primary home for like 3-5 years. But yeah, we have a lot of people doing that, and they're young too. They're young, buying like expensive homes in Hawaii.
So is this a good time to buy or sell? Sometimes I hear people say that sometimes. Oh, this is a good time to sell. Oh, it's a good time to buy.
Yeah. So
what is it right now? 2024.
I'm gonna let you answer that, and then I'll go after you.
So, to me, right, it's always good to buy as long as you qualify to buy, because sometimes when the market change and everything, and when you're ready, sometimes you don't qualify for whatever reason. Like maybe interest rate went up, and now I can't qualify anymore because interest rate went up. I could have bought something when I qualified a year ago. So I think that's kind of like where I stand. It's like if you really want to buy something, buy when you qualify, because the market can change like that. And like last year, like I said, I tell people to buy because it was the best time to buy because the price was lower, and you have more opportunity to get credit, seller credit, and to pay for all your closing costs, right? And do the buy down program. So then, part of that buy down program, let's say you got the 3-year temporary buy down program, and you refinance. Instead of waiting for 3 years, you only refinance in, let's say, 2 years or 1 year after that program. You'll get refunded for that money that for the remaining 2 years that you didn't use. So then that will help you pay for your closing costs and everything for your refinance. So there's always strategies to compensate or to whatever the market is, right? If you work with a good loan officer. So, yeah. And so, and I'll just leave it at that. Now, if for selling your home, right, I'll have her take over that part.
People said, oh, it's 2020 and the market's not very good. And like last year, oh my gosh, the interest rates are so high. The market's not good. Not true, guys. 2020, business was just as good in Hawaii. People were still buying and selling, believe it or not. I had a guy from Japan. He saw this waterfront property that I was listing, and he goes, I'm gonna buy it. He didn't even see it. He sent a videographer there. So, if you're gonna go into debt, the best debt that you can get into is buying a house. So you're asking me, is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? In Hawaii, honestly, it's both buyers and sellers. It's
at any time.
In my experience, it has been, because the sellers are like, right now we're back to overbidding. People are now overbidding. So now it's a good seller's market. But then again,
when you say overbidding, what is that?
Oh, overbidding means, like, I had a property out in Waialua, and it was old plantation house. It was actually like my auntie's plantation house, and I was going, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? It was like single wall redwood, the old, like how our grandma had. And I was going, oh, I gotta do something with this. I put it on the market, sister. As soon as I put my sign up, multiple offers, and people started just bidding above it. You know why? They love that kind. They love that kind of house.
But close to the ocean.
2 or 3 blocks from the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Waialua, though.
I know, all the way out there, but they don't care.
No, I mean, beautiful country.
Totally. Even the house wasn't nice, but people love that. That's what they look at. They look at like rundown homes.
So they were overbidding, meaning that they were like...
So the price was like, say the price is 1.15, they offered 100,000 more. They offered 50,000 more, 5,000 more. Yeah. It's still happening. It's starting to happen now with all the rumors that the rates are going to go down. It's starting to happen again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So share a story of maybe a buyer that you help that probably people would say, there's no way this person is going to buy a home.
Yeah.
someone that you helped. I want, like, the best case that you have as an example.
That I thought, okay, so
Yeah.
so there was this. Oh, I better not do it because it'd be too specific, just in case they
Yeah,
watch.
no names. No names, Sandra.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had this one guy a few years back, and he wasn't dressed up at all, and you know, he says, I want to buy this home, and I go, okay, that's fine. Let's get you pre-approved. That's my first thing to do, and he was buying, and he goes, I want this, and it was like above their budget that they gave me, and go, well, you know, you really can't afford to buy this right now. No, but I really want it. And I said, okay, we can put an offer, but you're going to need help. Turned out that guy was a trust fund baby. He could buy whatever you wanted. And so I was going, oh my gosh.
Okay, wait, not that kind of story. A story like they had no, like, bad credit. You know, like that kind.
Okay, I have a good one.
Okay.
He's my number one.
So it gives people
my
hope.
friend now, my friend.
I want to give people hope.
Okay, so I was listing a house, okay, out in Kaneohe, and this man came and goes, you know, Miss Sandra, I want this house, and he goes, and he's my good friend right now. He's my good friend, but I only had $30,000 in my pocket, and it was like a more than $1 million house, and I said, okay, but we gotta rearrange your finances, you know, but anyway, with $30,000. He was able to manage it with a home equity line, did all these OPM strategies that we tried and we put together. And then his next property goes, my goal is to go on the beach, to live on the beach and have a beach home. And I was going, oh, how is he going to do that? He got $30,000, got a house. Now, how are you going to do that? He found himself a contractor to partner with. Sure enough, they bought $1 million home, and, you know, they turned it beautifully. And then they sold it for $2 million. Imagine that. Started with $30,000. He bought that, and then after that, he bought another home because he learned all of the strategy that, you know, we taught him about, you know, to extracting your home equity and taking advantage of your talent, and he did that. And his third home, we just sold his third home.
You just sold his third home.
Yes.
But now he's living in a home that he really.
He's still living in the original home where he had only $30,000. But he's learning the buying and selling and the opportunities that Hawaii has to offer, right? If you do it right, and you take advantage of your home.
I need to have a contractor friend.
That is the key. That's the key.
Yeah.
Because you just fix it, and you know, you look for rundown homes, fix it up, do some sweat equity. Yeah, I have a very young agent that does that, and he fixes and buys it, and then he makes 6 figures.
Yeah, man. You know, so my thing is, you know, you open up the newspaper, and you go into the real estate section, and I look at all these realtors, and I think, where did they all come from? There's so many. Right? And I mean, not all of them look local. And I remember wanting to go to real estate school. This is years ago.
Mm-hmm. You should be. You'd be a good one.
No, I'm actually a really bad seller. So I buy, you know, I have all these friends, right? So they get into these multi-level marketing thing, and I always end up buying, but then I quit because I cannot say no.
Yeah.
But anyway, all these people selling homes, so I figured, you know, I want to get in. But when I was going through the class and stuff, all of a sudden I felt like, I don't think I can do that.
Oh, you know what? You got the personality for it. You would be a rock star.
No, but
yes.
but majority of the people who were buying weren't local, and I felt like, yeah. So that's what happened with me, where I ended up kind of pulling out because I thought it would be hard for me to keep selling homes to people who were just, you know, contributing to the out migration.
Gotcha.
So what would you say to somebody like me?
Don't get into business.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
you know, it's-
Which is why I stay with social services.
It's yeah, and you know what? But you know what though? I'm in it, but I'm doing something about it, and I
Yeah.
help those single mothers like my mom. Remember I told you?
Exactly.
I help
Which is
those-
why I asked you guys to be on the show, because I see what you guys are doing for
yeah,
local families.
we help so many like first time home buyers. They cannot afford sometimes. All the time, most all the time. You ask him. I help with closing costs, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how we help.
The OPMs.
Using other
Yeah.
people's commissions, OPCs too.
Or OPCs and OPMs. Yeah.
Yeah, you are so good.
Well, if you guys had any like advice to give anyone who, you know, are thinking, I might as well leave Hawaii. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, you guys gave excellent advice already. What would you share with them?
You know, I did leave Hawaii. I left Hawaii, and it was the biggest regret. Because
Why?
I missed home. I missed, you know, you go out there, you have the weather, not only sand, surf, the aloha spirit, people loving everybody, everybody knows everybody. I loved it, and I missed it. And I will never leave again. I think the most important thing, if you get anything out of what we talked to you about today, is keep your credit clean. Pay your bills on time. And like I said, that one guy, the man who's now a good friend of mine, he only had 30,000 and he worked so hard. He started with 30 grand. He bought a beach house. He bought another house after that and a condo, all within less than 5 years. It can happen.
Because he had good credit.
And he surrounded himself with people who knew how to do it. That's the key. I had my best friend, her dad was buying houses. Okay, one of my best friends. This is how I got into real estate. Okay. She had a dad that bought super high in the financial industry. I go, hey, I want to buy what your dad is buying. He goes, okay, but when you buy, you got to buy, and when you sell, you got to sell. Don't be attached. I go, I'll do it. Princeville, Honolulu, my first investment.
Wow, one of those condos.
It was a condo, Emalani Court, it was called. We bought it for like really cheap. I forgot what it was, but I bought it for this much. Okay, my dad's buying this. You got to buy this now. I go, okay, let's do it. I took my home equity line of credit. You know, we put cash down payment, and then 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later, she goes, we got to sell it for 200,000 profit. You got to do it now. I go, but I like it because I was going there because Kauai's my home, and I was going, no, I want to stay Kipa. You got to sell it. If you want it, you got to sell it because you got 2,000 and you can buy another house with it. And that's when I got the bug.
Wow.
I made my first 200,000, and then I bought 2 properties after that.
And how many properties do you own now?
Oh no, I own one now. Remember I told you, you can't lose your shirt in real estate. I only own my house now that I go back into when I buy and sell. I go back and I stay there, my retirement house. Then you go to your cash cow, then you come back. But now I'm like waiting for the right moment because when the rates go down, I'm gonna finally go back.
Yeah. What about you, Jimmy? If you had any advice to share with people?
I would say you don't have to buy a dream home as your first home. Okay, I'd say it's okay to buy just a starter home, right? And because a lot of people, when they say, oh wow, I want this mansion, right? And then, but I can't afford it. You don't have to start like that, right? You can always start small, right? Start small, and do what Sandra, said earlier, and then build up, and then you can always upgrade later. Use the equity that you build in the first home, and then use that equity to buy your second home, or upgrade to the second home, and then from the second home you upgrade, and eventually you might, you can get to your or better, bigger dream home or whatever. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, do that, and sometimes people. They think that the location too, they said, oh yeah, but in order for me to afford this home, I have to live all the way out here, and so they don't want to do it. and I'll tell you my story.
Uh-huh.
I grew up and lived in town, pretty much all my life, right? But when I had small children, I wanted a house for them, right? So, so they can have pets and and all that stuff. I found a home in the west side, right, and which I could afford at that time, and I said, you know what, I'll do it because I'd rather have a house for my family than I'll sacrifice the drive or the commute to work or whatever, right? Yeah. And and I thought that was my dream home, But anyway, 2 years later, I ended up selling the home for whatever reason, and then I upgraded to the home that I'm in now, So that advice is always, to me, I always give people the same advice that I would do for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would never tell somebody to do something that I wouldn't do for myself. So from that experience, then now I can share that experience with other people, right? And kind of give them tips and options like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does make sense, right? Just get your grip on something. Don't get too attached.
Because imagine this, like you're paying $2,000 a month. 2,000 times 12 is how much? I need my calculator.
24.
24,000. 2 years is what? 58.
48.
40. Okay. I had a D in geometry. I gotta tell you that much. You know what I mean? So you're throwing it away. You're paying somebody else's mortgage. You're gonna go into debt. Go in debt and buy a house.
Yeah.
I started with a townhouse. It was okay. It was nice.
Yeah, I mean so my husband and I ended up moving here a couple years ago, and we were renting. We're paying like $4,000 a month.
Oh gosh.
Right? It's like, what? Who can do that? I mean, it was hard, but it was a mortgage.
Yeah.
Right? So we ended up wanting to buy. So we ended up buying.
You don't own anything, right? You don't build equity, and
you don't get the tax write-off either.
Well, yeah, part of it the tax write-off, right? But the thing is that if you lock into a 30-year fixed mortgage, right, the payment is fixed for the life of the loan, right? If you rent, I mean, you think rent gonna go up in in the next year, 2 year, 3 year, 10 years, 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. So then, you can actually, if you ever find a loan officer that can help you do some calculation, you'll find that the cost of rent and the cost of owning a home, at the end of the 30-year or whatever, when you pay off your loan, you're so much further off than if you rent.
Yeah, I know. We ended up having to, consider that. We're like, we have our home on Maui. We're advised, don't sell your house on Maui.
Good
Don't
choice.
sell. So we ended up renting our home. But yeah. But I was thinking there's no way I would be able to buy another home on Maui.
Right? So remember this, when the rates go back to that 40-year low, it was like 2%, 3%, buy 3 homes. Because imagine that. Now those people that if they try to refinance now, their mortgages were 3%, they're double now. The mortgage is double now if you were to buy a house right now, right?
Yes.
So you got to watch those rates and save up, because opportunities will come, and there's always hope.
Always hope, yeah.
Always. Never give up.
So, I mean, we're paying a high mortgage now, and but I was advised, don't stay attached.
But if you were to buy that house that you bought 3 years ago or something, so if, let's say if your mortgage now is $4,000, right now it would be $8,000. So lucky you bought.
Crazy, yeah.
Lucky,
How it goes.
Lucky star.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a way, right?
Where there's a will, there's always a way.
Yeah. If you want to stay in Hawaii, you want to own a home, there's a way. finding the right loan officer, making sure you get good credit, so pay your bills on time, as you guys said, and don't give up, right?
Surround yourself with good people, people that have done it, they know how to do it, and people who will be so happy when you excel. Not people who get jealous of you, but people who will be happy to see you do well and own your home.
And you know, I know the title of this particular show is Housing Challenges in Hawaii. What else do you say are some of the challenges that you're seeing as far as housing?
I guess the state is trying to build more affordable housing projects, and those are really good, I guess, homes to be your first home. But just know that there are restrictions on those affordable homes. There's a lot of them has a 10-year buyback restriction, meaning that you have to live there for 10 years. You can't sell it, otherwise you get penalized. And there's share appreciation, So basically, if it's a state program, you share that when your home appreciate, you share part of that appreciation with the state
city.
when you sell your home. So there are some restriction and things like that, but it gets into your home, So there are some affordable projects out there right now, as we speak, right? So and supposedly they're supposed to be building more, So yeah.
The challenge that I'm seeing right now is there are more buyers than inventory, which is fine if you know how to position yourself and you write your offers perfectly so that you can get. So whenever I meet with people, I always tell them, you know what, you got to see everything and just give your offer on your top 3 or 4 homes, because sometimes you won't get anything, but if you at least come home with the ones that you like, then you've got something, right?
Yeah. Well, great advice you guys have been giving. We didn't sell our home on Maui, but I know that would probably be our cash cow, right?
You got that right.
So got to hold on to my cash cow.
Because that's where you want to live eventually. You want to go back to Maui, right? Someday?
I don't know.
Okay.
My daughter's already saying she wants to buy that house from us.
Oh.
So we'll see. We'll see what
keep
happens.
it in the family.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. I think for all of us local families, we're just trying our very best, right? To do the very best we can, not only for ourselves, but for our children, our grandchildren, right? Trying to set them up right too, because this is home. It's paradise, but it's our home, right? Yeah. And it's sad when we have to see another family moving, not because they want to, but they feel they have to. That's a challenge.
It's cultural too.
Yeah.
That we help our children or our parents help us, and it's okay too if we get into a house with them until we get on our feet, the younger ones, and then you can part with some of that equity so that parents can stay and then they can buy their own home too. That's another option, with the culture that we have.
Right. Okay, what is better, buying a home ready-made or buying the land and then building a home?
Whoa. Building is a whole new ball game. I mean, that's very difficult, because then if you're buying the land, then you have to do like an interest-only loan, and then you gotta wait for the materials. It's a whole new ball game, right? The ready-made one, I think, would be much easier for first-time home buyers, if that's what we're talking about. Yeah. Building would be more for the advanced ones where you already have been established.
Yeah. Good point. Okay, well, we're down to our last couple minutes. So anything you want to close with? I usually give you guys the time to just talk to the community and say what you want to say.
Okay, well, first of all, I want you to know that you are a sharp woman. This is a wonderful show. And what you're doing for the community, you're just amazing. You really are. I mean, I think you've missed your career and
You're
your
funny.
destiny. You should have been in television all these years. My greatest advice is, if you can dream it, you can make it happen. And again, it's not easy, but if you surround yourself with good people, and you live an honest life, and you pay your bills on time, you can make it happen. And you can. If you want $1 million home, work for it and make it happen.
How about you, Jimmy?
Same thing, surround yourself with good people, right? I always tell people that, there's no two loan officers that are alike. There's no two realtors that are alike. There's no two doctors that are alike. So you gotta have to surround yourself with good financial people, right? The real estate agent, a good loan officer, maybe even a financial planner, right? And anything to do with finances, because that's one part of your life that's very important, right? So if you have good people in those areas, then you should have, and of course you do what they tell you to do, right? then you have end up with a good financial future for yourself.
And make use of all those tax strategies.
Oh, that's a whole other
another
thing, right?
tax person, right?
Tax person.
So
Like a good
again,
CPA.
all those areas, those financial areas, tax person, financial, mortgage, real estate.
Awesome.
Yeah, you gotta surround yourself with those good people.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Jimmy, Sandra,
Thank
for being a
you.
part of
Yeah.
Kūkākūkā. And thank you for joining us, all of you out there. And hopefully, those of you who haven't thought about buying a home, you want to buy a home, hopefully this program helped a lot to give you some tips. And remember, if you can dream it, you can make it happen. So, yeah, thank you. Until next time, aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.